Welcome back to episode 4. Today, my guest is here, my co-host, Miss Bama Bo. She is here. Everyone say hi.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you
I love any
on.
chance to chat some football.
Say again?
I
What
said
did you
I'm
say?
I'm I'm excited for any chance to talk football.
I am excited. Today we're talking ACC. ACC meaning I'm going to not even mention that team's name because they've been a little too arrogant this off season. So we're talking ACC, and if the ACC can get back to, oh well, not even get back, but start a new thing of being balanced. Because if, like I told everyone, if you're paying attention to the days, yesterday was the Pac-12, so that means the Pac-12 is ranked number 5 in the Power 5, and then today it's ACC. They're ranked number 4 for a reason. It's not balanced. There's one team, and that's it. There's no real competition. Florida State is not Florida State. Miami's not Miami. Virginia Tech is not even Virginia Tech after the old ball coach left. And who else is? Oh, Syracuse. They're trying to become what they were in the Big East when the old Big East was here. But the ACC is not the ACC. I mean, it's not a balanced conference. So they're number 4. They should be number 5, but the Pac-12 just keeps finding ways to be weaker in every aspect. So
Worst.
they find ways to be weaker in every aspect. So
Very true.
the first, the very first topic, as you see it on the board, we're going to talk about Dabo and all the things that he's been running his mouth about all off season and even after the championship game. Like he's quick. He's quick with his responses or putting information out there that should have just stayed in house. But how do you feel about Dabo and how he handled the off season and the beating of Alabama the way they did? How do you feel?
I think what bothers me about him is, and a lot of Alabama fans would love to see him come to Tuscaloosa once Saban leaves, but I think he's honestly hurting himself. If that's ever going to happen, and I don't know that it is or isn't, but if
Hmm.
that's ever going to happen, I think he needs to shut up about it a little bit because he's splitting the fan base.
Right.
When you're talking about, Osama bin Dabo or whatever it was he said and all this, that, and that. That doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well with people. And so, I mean, he just needs to maybe tone that back a little bit because to me, that all shucks, howdy doody thing's wearing a little thin.
Yeah.
He comes across like he's sort of this cute little country boy, but he's making arrogant comments. And I, for one, don't particularly like it. I'm losing love for him.
I used to want him to be the head coach after Saban was going to be gone. I was looking for him to be the head coach, but I don't know. I don't even know if he can come back from those comments. Like you played at the school. How do you make those statements? I don't see how you make those
I know.
statements. And he's from Alabama.
Yeah.
How, how
Yeah,
did, how
not
does
far
he
from
do it?
me. like I don't know, and it just doesn't sit well. I mean, he makes these weird backdoor comments about whatever it was he said about coming in the back door to Tuscaloosa or something. It's like he's almost building himself up a little bigger than what he actually is. And I realize he's creating a dynasty there in Clemson, and I respect that. But he's still not a Nick Saban. And why make yourself more than you actually are? I just think people get put off by that just a little bit. To me, it's off-putting.
It very so much is. I would see if he was doing what he was doing in another conference, or if he even if he was doing it in that conference with Florida State being a powerhouse, Bobby Bowden and Miami was doing what they were doing back in the early 2000s, and Virginia Tech was there doing what they were doing all throughout the 90s and 2000s. Then I can see him being like, okay, I can put out my chest and say what I want to say because I'm going up against top competition. I'm playing these teams I'm beating Florida State inside of Florida State. That Florida State football field used to be so terrifying for teams on the road because that chop and hearing the crowd and the horse coming out with the guy stabbing the ground, like that was intimidating. People that would probably end the game in the first quarter. Florida State was putting up crazy points when I used to watch them when I was younger. The 90s, they was putting like 70. They was putting up points. They owned that conference, and they're not doing that no more. It's just Clemson, and it's just weird that he feels so comfortable to speak the way he speaks about other teams or how he feels it. He's just so confident. It's okay to be confident, but there's a level to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we got beat. I get it. I mean, we've always been the bully, and we got bullied. I totally get it. But when you're in a conference that you play your conference championship game and it's a 7-5 pit and that's the best team that they can put up in that conference for a conference championship. And in the meantime, Alabama's in a dogfight with Georgia just to get into the playoffs, and the winner of that game was going to go to the playoffs. So it's a little better in the SEC, and they can say what they want, but that's an easy conference right now. There are no other teams that's going to be an imminent threat to Clemson. There's just not. Florida State, no, they won't be this year, and for the next foreseeable future. Yeah. Miami, none of these teams are trending up. They're all trending down. Mm-hmm. And while that's going on, I think, the SEC is trending up, and people are catching up with Alabama. So, right now, the ACC is, Dabo and the Flying Sweeneys. That's it.
That is absolutely it. So that brings us to our next point. The next topic would be, will Clemson be dethroned? And I guess we've already answered that. I don't see it happening. Clemson will probably have their ticket punched every season as long as Dabo is there and Florida State and everyone else is irrelevant. In preseason, their ticket will already be punched. I don't see them being dethroned in the ACC for a long time. So, do you feel that?
No, there's nobody going to beat them. Yeah, no, there's nobody going to beat them. I mean, who's going to rise up? Look at this. Look at the preseason polls. They've got Syracuse, the only other team in the ACC in the top 25. Syracuse. Yeah. That's the only other ranked team. I mean, how bad is the ACC that happens? No one's going to dethrone them. I mean, can they lose a game? Sure. I think Texas A&M will have a shot at it. But in their own conference, no way. Yeah, I'm gonna be the biggest Aggie.
You're gonna be the 12th man. You're gonna be the 12th man.
I'm gonna be the 12th man. I'm gonna be cheering Kellen Mond on.
That's gonna be a very good game. That is gonna be a very good game. So we transition to.
Hey, A&M had them last year.
Yes, they escaped that.
They escaped
that. They escaped Syracuse. Syracuse last year could have beat them, and they just had a mental breakdown. I don't know. I watched that game because ESPN was running games back all summer long, and I watched that game I think 4 times, and I could not understand how Syracuse just stopped playing the way they were playing in the first half. They had Clemson. Clemson was trying to figure out their offense, and they let them off the hook. They let them off the hook.
Yeah, they did.
They let them off the hook.
They did.
So
yeah, and Syracuse is not even a great football team, but they always just, they're that one team that sometimes just has another team's number, and that's the Syracuse right now with Clemson. It's just like you hope for a Texas A&M, somebody out of conference, and I really do think they have a chance, although no one is giving Texas A&M a chance. I think they got a shot, but then you have to look at another team like a Syracuse or somebody, but gosh, I mean. And I know we're not talking about it, but there was this talk on the radio earlier, like, would Clemson ever leave the ACC? And I'm like, why would they? Why would you leave a conference that you're dominating? I mean,
Oh,
that just don't
man.
make it common sense.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Oh, wow. Got to take that off. It's my phone. Excuse me, folks. um, yeah, I don't even know how that even came up as a thought. Like, why would you want to leave a conference that you own? Like, you own
I
that
know.
conference.
It, it was just a random radio thing I heard today, and I just started laughing. I was like, why would Clemson ever leave that
That's your
conference?
moneymaker. That is your moneymaker.
That's insane.
You don't leave
But
that
and you
conference.
and think about it. If Clemson wasn't in that conference, where would that conference be?
Oh, that would be
There would be no
that would be
ACC.
horrible. Hold on, we have a viewer that
Yeah.
says, well, let's talk ND. Oh, we will be talking ND. As you see, it's on the board. That's the fifth. That's five. Yep, the fifth topic up. So stay here, and we'll be diving to that one soon. So next, we're gonna talk about non-conference. The non-conference. That's the biggest thing. Everyone's always looking at who's playing who, why are they playing this, cupcakes here and there. The non-conference is the biggest conversation. So we got SEC versus ACC in these non-conference in the early weeks. How do you think the ACC would fare against the SEC this year? Well, the first
Oh,
game is Duke and Alabama.
yeah.
Well, not the first game,
I
but
mean,
that's the one game. That's gonna Duke's coach is trying to motivate his players, and I don't fault him for saying what he said. What is he supposed to go out there and say? You know what? We're gonna go out there. We're gonna play. Hope we don't get crushed by 70, and keep our players healthy. Is that what he's supposed to say? Uh, I don't get it. So he went out there. He said what he said to motivate
no.
his players. His players know. Like, you can't tell me these young men are sitting there thinking, you know what? We're gonna go against Alabama, and we're gonna put it on them. That's You want to have that as a
No, they
player
don't think that.
mentality. Like, you want to have that, but that's not reality. You know that's not the case. Of course, all games are played on the field. They're not played on paper. But some things, one plus one equals two, is all I'm saying. One plus one equals
Yeah.
two, and Duke knows that game is going to be. They want that game to end in a hurry, and they want to have that game end with no injuries. That's a victory for them. No
Yeah.
injuries. Let's finish the season
But
out.
yeah, that's really the biggest thing. And I was kind of about to say that same thing because I actually like Cutcliffe. I think he's a nice
I do.
guy and I
Mm-hmm.
think he's a fine coach. But I just, what do you say to your players? Because obviously he's not going to come out there and just be like, okay, guys, look, we know we're going to lose this game. He can't do that as a coach, even
No.
though everyone is thinking it and it's the elephant in the room. He's never going to say that, right?
Right.
But it's going to define their season because nobody really wants to open against Alabama. You look at the past openers with Alabama, it's pretty much destroyed every season for these people. The entire season is shot after this game. They lose players to injuries. They go on to have a bad season. They can't ever recuperate. It always happens. So all that Duke can hope for is very little injuries, and they can come out with some victories later in the season. And that's really all they can hope for because this game will sort of define how their season's going to go on mentality. Can you regroup, injuries, that kind of thing? Because it can make or break a football team. We've seen it too many times before. I mean, Alabama, it just comes in and just kills your wheel and destroys you for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have to see how they recuperate because I anticipate it's going to be a whooping.
On that, I feel like Duke has the strongest schedule in that conference. I looked at it over and over again, and Duke, with the two teams that they're going to be playing, they playing Notre Dame and they playing Alabama. That right there. Clemson has Texas A&M and South Carolina. South Carolina is on a rebuilding path, so that's not the same. Florida and Florida State. Florida State just has that Florida game, and a bunch of, I think, Jacksonville State or something another cupcake. But no one ever mentions other teams' cupcakes. They only mention when Alabama are eating cupcakes, which is just blows my mind. Like, no one else is playing cupcakes out here. But Besides that, Duke is the only team in that conference playing two very good Power Five. Well, Notre Dame's not Power Five; they're affiliated with ACC, but Duke is playing Alabama, Notre Dame, and so I say that they have the toughest schedule in the ACC. They have the toughest schedule in the ACC, so that's going to be a loss for the ACC. The next one is Miami and Florida. How do you feel about that one?
You know, I'm not a fan of Florida, but on the other hand, and they've had so many off the field things happen this summer. I mean, it's been like, I don't know if you've been really paying attention, but it's like every day there's some news day with Florida. They're either jumping ship or getting arrested or injured. I mean, Dan Mullen's losing players like crazy. And that said, I think they wiped the floor with Miami. I mean, I just don't see Miami having a shot. I do. I don't. Here's the thing. I think Florida right now is favored by 7.5, or something like that, and their team is depleted. But I kind of like Dan Mullen. I think he's a good coach. I think he's going to get the most out of his quarterback. I think he's going to get the most out of his team. I just ain't buying Miami. I think Miami will probably. They're going to get their first loss. If I had to pick it right now, I would say Florida hands down. And then, I mean, I think the ACC is going to take a hit on opening weekend. The ones that have to play people.
I wasn't even. I don't know. Now I got to reevaluate my what I saw in Miami. I saw all the hype for Florida, and I was like, do I really want to buy into that hype? I do like Dan Mullen, but do I really want to buy into that hype? And now that you said that, it's making me second guess Miami. Is Miami that bad?
Yeah, I'm not buying the hype with Florida. I mean, they're probably 8 to 10 win team at best, but I just don't think Miami's going to be good enough to beat them. I'm not buying Miami. That's my whole thing. I'm just not buying Miami. Now, if they show up and they play better football, then I'll retract all of it, but I'm just not buying them.
Okay, so it's not that Florida is just...
I mean, their coach is young. New. Not buying Miami.
Okay, I see that. That makes sense. I can see that. I can see that. Okay, so then we got Texas A&M and Clemson. Part 2. What do you have?
And they're playing in Clemson.
Playing in Clemson.
Well, I keep wanting to pick Texas A&M. I keep wanting to pick them.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to. I figure one day I'm gonna be right? Like I'm just gonna pick them every year. One day, maybe Texas A&M beat them.
I'm gonna go.
No,
I'm picking Texas A&M, and it's not even the fact that I have confidence in the team. I mean, the team finished the season kind of up and down, but they did finish the season strong. They won their bowl game by a big score. I trust Jimbo Fisher. I don't believe he's going to lose another game, especially the way they lost at home because of a referee. I don't see him losing that game. I feel like this is the game. I feel like he's okay with losing at home. He'll go to Dabo, especially after Dabo's been talking all that nonsense. He'll go to Clemson and take their souls from him in week 1. That's
yes, and
that's
and I like your thinking, and I will just say this: this is why I'm picking. This is the sole reason I'm picking Texas A&M. All right, hear me out quickly, but it makes sense in my head. Okay, so Jimbo Fisher, to me, he needs this win. This is a game that he's got circled. I mean, how badly it ended last year, this is a game he's got circled. And they do that, whether they're going to tell us that or not. They circle winnable games. Mm-hmm. And that's the ones they go, we got to have this one. We got to have this one, right? Well, he needs this game. He may not beat Alabama. He needs this game. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, Clemson is now the hunted. And they may not have this game circled. They've got playoff things to think about. They've got Alabama to think about. And sometimes in the offseason, when you're putting all your thoughts on this and that, you might forget about little Texas A&M coming in there. And when you're the hunted, everybody's going to play harder. And I'm just telling you, they're going to get their best game. And it's different when you're on top. And sometimes those are the games that slip through. I'm
I can
going
see
Texas
that.
A&M.
That valid points. Valid points. I definitely. They probably after because they. I mean, the way they beat Alabama, so they probably relaxed. They feeling good. Um, their senior captains are gone. The ones that's going to keep them in check, keep them in line, keep them focused. They're going. It's a younger locker room. Uh, these are valid points. I like that. I like that. This is probably the game that they can definitely slip up and lose, and they all have that shock look on their face, like the
Yeah.
fans are like,
Well, look, a team can't win forever.
right,
Yeah, a team can't win forever. You're going to lose a game eventually. And this is just, to me, sets up for the perfect game because, we've seen the complacency. Everybody talks about that with Alabama. They fought it for 10 years.
hmm
And it's Clemson's turn. When are they going to get complacent? When are they going to slip up? When are they not going to take a team seriously? And I'm just telling you, Jimbo Fisher needs this game. He needs this game.
I like it.
I like it. I'm going Texas A&M. Not by much, but
Not
they're
by
going to
much.
sneak in Death Valley
I
and
say a
win.
field goal. It'll come down to a kicker, like always. It'll come down to a kicker kicking something off to the side and either Clemson missing it wide left or something like that. It'll come down to a kicker. So I like that. I like that. Um, we missed the point. So let me see. We'll jump overall. The ACC is not going to do very well in non-conference against the SEC.
No,
No. Okay. That,
no.
making sure we made that very clear to the people. The ACC will not fare very well against the SEC this year. Um, I mean, they did the Clemson, not the ACC. Clemson won the championship. ACC hasn't done very much of anything, so people calm down. um,
Yeah, exactly.
so we'll go back up. We missed the who's going to win the Coastal, and the Coastal. I I went back and forth with this for about 2 weeks, and the lock that Clemson has on that whole conference is just it's unreal. But the team I feel like that could do it is Virginia. I like Virginia. I watched a couple of their games. They have a lot of people returning. Like you said, Miami probably not going to be there. Virginia Tech, I feel like he's going to be on the hot seat if they have another subpar year. Um,
Definitely.
Georgia Tech, they're- the Coastal is up for grabs, but I feel like Virginia could win the Coastal. And I said earlier this summer that I felt like Virginia would probably be the one that'll take that will give Clemson their first loss. I don't know why I felt that way. I just felt like Virginia would sneak up on them. Virginia has a tough game against Notre Dame, so I feel like if they go into that game and they take care of business and they beat Notre Dame, that they might be ready to take on Clemson and Trevor Lawrence because M. Book is not a bad quarterback. I like him. I like M. Book. He's a good quarterback. And if Virginia can take care of Notre Dame's offense, I feel like, although they're two different offenses and the skill levels are totally different, what Clemson has and what Notre Dame will have, but I feel like they'll make it competitive and hopefully maybe win that game. But they probably won't. But I'll give them the division. I'll say they'll win the Coastal Division.
Well, let me get my hat and I'm going to draw a name out of it.
Oh. Oh. Oh no. That's I mean because it doesn't it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even
No,
matter.
and it's sad too because I don't know that they get past Notre Dame and so it's gosh, that's so hard. It's just so hard. I mean, it's just I don't even have a name to bring up. It's so hard to figure out the Coastal. I mean,
It seems like that's
who
all
else is there?
the weak the weak teams and Clemson eats up all of them and the talent between the two divisions is so different. Miami used to have that type of talent, and they don't. Virginia Tech had the defense and the special teams, but they don't have that no more. It's just that division is just. I wouldn't even say it's like the SEC East because at least in the East you have, well, when Tennessee was good, but right now you have Georgia and Florida and Missouri every now and then pokes their head up in there like, hey, we about to contend. And you got
Yeah.
Kentucky right now. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's like the SEC East. It's just a bad division.
It is, and I know this wasn't the question, but I tell you, they need Virginia Tech to be good again.
I,
They really do.
I would love to see. I wrote down on here. The teams that I want to come back and be dominant again: Virginia Tech, Miami, Florida State, and Syracuse. And even if Pitt can be above average, that would make the conference a lot better than what it is right now. Because I mean, they have no one that's even in the middle. It's just Clemson and then everyone else at the bottom. Y'all figure out where you're gonna fit in at. Y'all figure it out. We're up here
Yeah.
and y'all are down there.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like it's gonna change anytime soon.
No.
So
No. And that's the whole thing. It's just like they need Virginia Tech to be good again, and there's no. The biggest problem is there's just such a huge gap. There's no middle players at all. I mean, like I said a while ago, when you've got Clemson playing Pitt for the championship game, and that's the best they can bring, the best they can offer up is Pitt over there. Are you kidding me?
right,
There's nobody.
nobody.
There's nobody.
Nobody.
Virginia Tech and these teams have got to be good again, and I don't see it in the near future.
So well, Bama Bo has said that she will draw a name out of the hat, and that's whoever that is that's gonna win the Coastal. So let that be known. Whoever comes out of the hat, that's your division champion of the ACC Coastal. So we move on to the famous, world famous Notre Dame fighting Irish, America's sweetheart, I guess, America's favorite team, college team, America's most recognized school logo or whatever. Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They're not in this conference, but they are affiliated by association. But the basketball team is in the conference, women's and men. But the men football team decides to stand by and just have an affiliation with the ACC. So here we are talking about Notre Dame. And like I said a couple episodes back, I am high on Notre Dame. I don't feel like their defense is going to be the same. I don't feel like their running game is going to be the same. But I believe in book, and if Brian Kelly is if he's a smart coach, and if he remember his days at Cincinnati and when he was a head coach there, where they used to throw the ball all over the field, he's going to have to do that here within book, because they traveled to Georgia to play the Bulldogs, and they're not going to win that game running the ball. That's going to be all through the air. That's going to be in books, arm, and I said it before. If he wins that game on his arm, because college football loves Notre Dame. It doesn't matter how bad they are or what their schedule looks like. If they win, college football is putting Notre Dame in any bowl game or any playoff. It doesn't matter. So if he wins that game and he beats Georgia with his arm, he probably has already won the Heisman. And that's that.
Fair point. Yeah.
He probably will already win the Heisman. They have Stanford, USC, Georgia, Virginia, and the rest of. I think they play Michigan this year. In Michigan, so this schedule is not. I thought it was tough, but listening to some of the ESPN analysts, especially Will Kane, he's not even a fan of the schedule. He said the schedule doesn't look very appealing at all. He feels like Notre Dame is going to be out of the top 25 by the end of the season. I was like, whoa, he's not high on them at all, and that made me stand back and like, wow, he's not. What am I looking at? I like in book, and I feel like the team, how the schedule is set up, if he can take care of business against Georgia in Georgia, I don't see that team being a pushover because I just don't. I feel like if they win all their games, it's going to be strictly on offense. It's going to be shootouts. The defense is not even going to be a factor. So that's how I feel. How do you feel about this team that you've been wanting to talk about for months now?
First of all, my co-host Jerome calls Notre Dame the Shirley Temples of the country because anyway, everybody loves them, and it's funny too because the bone I have to pick with Notre Dame is to me it's not ironic that they affiliate with pretty much the easiest conference. Why don't they affiliate themselves with somebody more difficult? But I got to thinking, right? So. I was so mad for so long because they don't have to play a conference championship, but they can walk into the playoffs. So they can play one less game than everybody else and walk into the playoffs. And I was mad about that. Then I got to thinking, it's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
Wish we could do it. It's pretty smart. But that said, Notre Dame needs to be punished. So because they either need to join a conference and quit monkeying around about it because it's not fair that everybody else plays one more game. It's just not fair. Now, I know Alabama backdoored into the playoffs a few years ago, not playing the conference. I get that, but we still have a conference championship. We just didn't play in it. Mm-hmm. I get that. But they don't even have to do it. They're going to have one less game than everybody every year, and they're still just going to walk right into the playoffs. But I don't think so with a loss. So Georgia's going to beat them, and that's going to shut up Notre Dame country. They're out if they lose to Georgia.
You heard it here. She was straight to it. She didn't even explain it. She just said it's going to be a loss. As soon as they get to Georgia, the game is over. That's a wrap. It's the end of the season.
They won't beat Georgia. They won't beat Georgia, and there's no way a one-loss Notre Dame gets in with a less game. And look, what has the committee said, whether we like it or not, they put value in conference championships. And if a Notre Dame has a one loss, I just don't see it. I mean, they got in there with no losses last year, and they got just steamrolled.
Yeah.
One loss, Notre Dame won't make it.
Well.
And I just don't know how they beat Georgia.
Yeah,
I just don't know how they beat Georgia.
The only way, like I said, because I was feeling like if they beat Georgia, it would be a shootout. It was going to be in-book versus Jake Fromm and in-book versus that secondary. I'm not too high on Georgia's secondary right now. They didn't look too good on some of the stuff that I've seen. They lost a lot of pieces back there.
But you know what? If Kirby Smart is, smart, you know what he would do? He would run the ball and drain the clock, and I think he can do that against Notre Dame. And if you got the clock on your side, they win that game easy.
I can see that. Yeah, if he does ball control instead of turning into a shootout. If coaches thought more like that and be like, okay, who's on the other side? Oh, that's a Heisman candidate. Well, what do we have for our running backs? Oh, we got a nice stable of running backs. Let's keep him off the field. Some coaches, they're like, what, we're going to stick to our game plan despite what they have, and we're going to see what we got. Sometimes you got to take a step back and be like, we're trying to win. Let's game plan for this and take care of business and move on to the next. So if Kirby Smart uses his smartness, that would be a great game plan to run the ball down their throats. I mean, pound them. They don't have the size. They don't have the speed. What you don't want to do, I believe in his arm. You don't want to get into a shootout. They got the receivers. They got the size for the receivers and the tight end. So Kirby's going to have to put the ball on the ground and just keep him off the field. But we'll go a 7-minute drive. Yeah. Beat them down with the long drives. We don't even see that no more. When you do see a long drive, you're like, what is going on? Is something wrong with the offense? Like, why are they not scoring fast? What is happening? Oh, they took 10 minutes to score. What is this? What is going
And I
on
kind of
here?
miss that, Yeah, I
I
miss that.
miss
I
that
miss
type of play,
that. I
though.
mean,
Do you miss that?
I do too. I do too. Yeah, I do. I loved and not to bore people, but the Gene Stallings mentality.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't care if we went 3-0. That was just
Win the
the
game. That's
mentality,
the
and that's a boring game to a lot of people. But it's not boring to me. I love it because I would rather score little and give them nothing
Mm-hmm.
than to get in shootouts with people. I can't stand that.
Yeah. Stress level
Can't
is through
stand
the
it. It's
roof.
nerve wracking.
Stress level is
Oh,
through. Through the roof.
it's nerve wracking. But I think at the end of the day that Georgia and look, I've got a lot of Notre Dame friends. I mean I don't dislike Notre Dame. I just pick on them because they're not in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think at the end of the day, this game is going to be won in the trenches, and I just don't think they match up. Not with Georgia.
I can see that. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So are we in agreement that Clemson will not be dethroned and have already punched their ticket for the college playoffs, or does Texas A&M have a valid, real chance of knocking them off? Well, I can still see them making the playoffs with one loss. You know what I heard? I heard on ESPN, I heard them say that the Pac-12 will be in the playoffs. So for some reason, they are flying high on Oregon. At the show last night, I didn't say, I said Utah.
Oregon's got a good quarterback.
Yeah, he got a good quarterback, but he was good last year. He was supposed to be in a first round, and they finished 9-4. They lost to Arizona State. They lost to Utah. They lost a lot of games that they should have won. I'm not as high. For Oregon, that game that matters the most is that Auburn game. That's going to pan out their whole season.
And that's going to determine both of their seasons.
Oh yeah, both of their seasons. Yes, absolutely. If I also yesterday I said that this game is set up perfect for Auburn right now because everyone is riding high on Oregon, and everyone's talking about Oregon, and everyone's like downing Auburn for not knowing what they're going to do offensively and not even knowing what type of quarterback or what quarterback is going to run the offense. I feel like this is the game where they shock and surprise everyone and be like, boom, they took out Oregon. Oregon season is done. The Pac-12 conversation for the playoffs is done. I feel like this is set up for Auburn to do something amazing. No one's counting them to do anything. I feel like this is the game Auburn wins because I'm not that high on Oregon. I don't see them being that good. I don't see it. So.
Well, or I was a little higher on Oregon a few weeks ago, but their receivers are dropping like flies, and that has me a bit concerned because that quarterback's really good, but I mean they're going to pull somebody out of the stands to throw it to. They've lost 3 receivers.
Ooh, 3?
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
When did they lose the?
So
I knew about 1. I didn't know they lost 2 more.
They've got 3 out now. Some will be back, but there will be 3 out for the Auburn game, the opener.
Oh man, that's pretty thin. Well,
that's pretty thin.
That's pretty thin.
I'm a little concerned about that as an Alabama fan. I'm a little concerned about Oregon not being able to do the job I was hoping they could do.
We will hear about that all season long until it's time for Alabama to play Auburn because they'll be riding that wave.
It'll be, listen, here in Alabama, it will be unbearable. So, but yeah, okay. But getting back to Clemson, if they lose to Texas A&M, because Clemson's going to steamroll the ACC, we know that. But can they be dethroned by anybody on the regular schedule? And I've already said Texas A&M, you said Texas A&M. Here's the problem I think Clemson has, though. If they lose to Texas A&M, then at some point you have to bring in that argument of strength of schedule. Yep. Because what nobody's talking about is Alabama. Everybody's picking on Alabama's strength of schedule, but look at Clemson's schedule and look at Alabama's schedule, and if you swap them, Alabama's schedule becomes easier.
Yeah.
The common denominator that they have is Texas A&M, and other than that, the schedule becomes easier.
Yeah.
So while nobody's talking about Clemson's schedule, can they backdoor their way in with one loss? And what if you've got a crazy scenario where you have a one-loss Georgia or a one-loss SEC team?
Ooh.
I don't know.
That'll make the people crazy. That'll make the people crazy if they have a season where the playoffs have 2 SEC teams in there and the Pac-12 get left out. Or the ACC.
Oh, next year we'd have 18 playoff. You watch.
We definitely don't need that nonsense. I can't deal with that. That's too many games. I can't deal with that. You're going to have
I don't want
freshmen
it
and
either.
walk-ons playing.
I don't want it either. No, it'd be awful. I don't want it either. And the thing about it is they're pushing for it so hard. And I'm sitting here going, if you realistically think about it, it's hard to find 4 teams.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
People, listen up. This is a call to action. Do not vote for a 8-team playoff, 6, or any more than 4. There's no reason for it. There is no reason for it. There is no reason. They struggle to find 4 legit teams. You can't say, well, they wouldn't struggle if they had 6. Well, then we're going to struggle to find 6 teams. Well, if we had 8,
Yeah.
we would have teams that shouldn't even be playing in the playoffs. We wouldn't.
But you know who's pushing for it? You know who's pushing for it? It's all the teams that are always left out. Well,
Yeah.
win your ball games. Win your games, and
Yeah,
it won't be a problem.
Win your bowl
Just
games.
win 'em. You know, and just if you're going to win your games, you won't have a problem getting in. It's the teams that are left out, like the 2 losers, like the Ohio States. Win beat Iowa or whatever. Don't.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hear it. Just win the games you're supposed to win, and we'll be done with it.
Absolutely.
Georgia was crying about it last year, but Georgia shouldn't have got steamrolled by LSU. Win the game.
Win your games. It's that simple, folks. Just
Yeah.
win your games. Get your coaches.
But I will say this just really quickly though, talking about the 6 or 8 team playoff. These people that are pushing for it must not see how tired these kids are. These kids that play in these postseason games every year, like the Clemsons and Alabamas, these kids are tired in December. They're tired.
They are.
Why you want to pack on more? Yeah, I mean, think about the player.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're not getting paid, people. There's no reason to add on more games. They're not getting paid. There's no reason for it. So, everything shook up. I don't know what happened. But, so that'll close out the ACC talk for today. As you see, that is Tuesday. That means they're ranked number 4. They should probably be lower than that, but they're 4 because they have a champion. I guess that solidifies them being number 4. But anyway, that closes out the ACC conversation for today. Tomorrow is Big 12. So that means Jalen. We're going to be talking about Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma. So Big 12 tomorrow. If you want to follow Bama Bo, as you see it on the screen, at Bama Bo on Twitter, do your show promo on your YouTube.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a new show. It's the J-Bo Show. It's Jerome from Birmingham. He's a fine bomb caller, and myself. And we do YouTube Live on Tuesday nights for sure, every week, 7 o'clock. Saturdays is going to be a little bit different just because of game days, but we're going to go live after games. So that time is going to vary, but we'll certainly post it. And but yeah, it's you can find us on J-Bo Show on YouTube, or we've got the J-Bo Show 2019 Twitter account. We're all over the place. You can find us anywhere. Facebook, same thing.
Same thing. So.
And we're just having some fun. And we're going to take some callers and just have some fun and have people call in and talk some football. All fans are welcome, even though I came on here and bashed everybody today.
So make sure you tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Call in and talk some football with them. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That wraps it up for today. Remember, tomorrow is the Big 12. And, before I get out of here, Next Monday, I will be interviewing Mayor candidate Sean Haas here on live Facebook. We will be talking about how he plans to reform the city of South Bend. So make sure you tune into that. We got a lot of things coming up on this show. So make sure you like, share, comment. If you have any topics that you want to hear about, let me know. Send them to an email, send them on Facebook, Twitter. However, just let me know, and let's keep this thing moving. Again, have a good day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.